and welcome back to the Contest Chronicles, my ongoing quest to actually win one of these things, but also just spreading the word of good YouTube channels out there that you might not have heard of, and to go check out these people. And this episode I'll be doing a contest entry for Kryptonian Guy, and he's a great YouTuber. I've only recently found his channel. He's got some good videos, got a nice collection, and seems like a cool guy as well, and he's holding a great contest, so that's always a good reason to enter one of these things, obviously. But obviously a generous guy, and yeah, so let's crack on with this. He's got two questions that he wants answered for this video, and there was originally some confusion because there were two horror questions, and a lot of people commenting saying that they didn't watch horror films, and so he kind of changed the rules a bit so you could do another genre. But I'm going to stick with horror because that was his original question. I think that's probably what he would probably be most interested in hearing the answers about. And I'm not actually a big horror fan, but I've got no problem answering horror questions because I've seen horror films. I've seen plenty of them. I would say, in fact, that horror is probably my least. Well, I don't know. Maybe it's lower down in terms of my favorite genres. I got nothing against them. I just don't go to them all the time. I prefer dramas, like samurai films, westerns, and action, sci-fi, that kind of thing. And horror is always near the bottom of the list, but I still love horror films. So what are my top 5, I think, favorite horror films? Was that right? Yeah, top 5 favorite horror films was the second question, so I'll get to that in a minute. But the first question was, who is your favorite horror villain? Bad guy. And I would have to go with Freddy Krueger. Again, I'm not a huge horror fan, so I can't really comment either here or there on people like Mike Myers or Jason Voorhees, because I haven't really seen many of those films. But I have seen all the Nightmare on Elm Street films, and while they kind of get silly to the point of a farce in the later films, I think the first film, Nightmare on Elm Street, is a really creepy film, and it's quite sinister. And my phone is going crazy and it just will not stop. Okay, it shouldn't go off anymore. And also in Wes Craven's New Nightmare, which is technically Nightmare on Elm Street 7, but it's kind of like a meta film, and that is just really awesome, and he's really great in that. Robert Englund, of course, who plays Freddy Krueger, and I'm slightly partial as well because I've met him and he's a great guy. And so yeah, my favourite horror villain would be Freddy Krueger, because there's a creepy element there. He's got a really cool look, just kind of an iconic look in many ways, but he's also really funny, and again, as silly as the later films get, I still enjoy all of them. So yeah. Okay, and the second question was your top 5 favourite horror films, as I already mentioned. I haven't even thought about this before I turned the camera on, which probably isn't a great thing, but okay. Top 5 horror films. Ooh, I really should have thought about this. Okay, I'll just name 5 as opposed to kind of going 5 to number 1, the best. A Nightmare on Elm Street, I think, is brilliant. That's 1. And I've already kind of just talked about that. 2, Saw. I think Saw is an amazing film. Saw 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, not so much. In fact, really not so much. The first film, however, is fantastic. It's such a brilliant film. It's it's creepy, it's kind of scary at times. Not that I ever get scared at films, but it's got a scary kind of feel to it. A great kind of villain in Tobin Bell as Jigsaw, and just that amazing twist at the end of the film, which it was kind of, I feel like the whole series was trying to better that twist, and just trying to up the ante. It's like, how can we pull off a big twist at the end of this film? And that's where they kind of lost their way a little, maybe. Or maybe they just lost their way in all the ridiculous kind of amount of torture porn that goes on in that film. It's just horrible. Whereas the first film, the first Saw, I think that the kind of the torture scenes, they're done right. It's not too much. It's certainly shocking, but it's not that over the top. I think they kept trying to make it bigger and better and gorier, and that's where I kind of lost interest in those films. So that's 2. 3, Dawn of the Dead. I absolutely love Dawn of the Dead, the original. I like the remake too, but the original is just a classic, and just the mall setting and everything is awesome. Love that film. 4, I'm going to go with John Carpenter's The Thing. I absolutely adore that film. I can watch it over and over again. I love the feel of it. I love just like the fact that they're isolated in the middle of nowhere, and yeah, I love films like that as well, where it's kind of in one kind of location, they're stuck there and out in the wilderness kind of thing. I love that part of the film, but also the effects. It's just such a great movie. Number 5, fifth one. I'm gonna go with The Shining. I think you can class that as a horror, because I think that is just an amazing film, horror or not. It's certainly horrifying. In fact, I may as well mention this while I'm at it. I think there are 3 things that have really scared me in films. There's been 3 times when I've ever been scared in watching a film. Once was when I was around 15, and I was watching The Omen on TV, like about 2 in the morning, and it just creeped me out. Ugh. 2 was The Shining, and it was that scene with that old woman. You know what I'm talking about? Jesus Christ. It's just the single most horrifying thing I've ever seen in a film so far. Jesus. The 3rd one is kind of not even a horror film, it's just something that really creeped me out. Anyway, so yeah, that's my contest entry. Go check out Kryptonian Guy, he's a really good YouTuber. He's got some cool videos, he's kind of, I think, underlooked, I think, for almost 800 subscribers. I haven't really heard many people talk about him before, so more people should be doing that and checking out his channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Yeah, he's really cool. But he's not quite as cool as you, cause